Guys, for you to start any business, you must understand the scope of the business and why you are going into that particular business. Okay, so in this particular video, I'm going to share with you how you can start a successful local poultry rearing business with just 5 hens and 1 particular rooster. Okay, so what I will recommend you to do is to just take your pen and paper and jot down the general overview of starting this particular business. Okay, but if you are new, I'm Isaac from Sinai Farms, and I will recommend you subscribe, but don't forget to turn on the post notification bell to get notified early anytime I release a new video like this. So without much ado, let's proceed into this particular video. So now our aim here is to become a local poultry farmer. That is the business we want to start, right? Before we procure the birds, there are certain things that we must put in place. So that is the basics of any business. For you to start any business, there are certain things, there are some basic things that you must put in place, right? So for us to also start this particular business, we are starting this business, local poultry business. So we'll be rearing local poultry. So this is the business we want to start, and then our starting point is just using 5 hens and then 1 rooster. But before we procure the rooster and then the hens, first we need to consider the structure, okay, where the birds will be staying. So the first thing we have to do is to consider the structure where you'll be keeping these particular birds, and then the place is safe and sound for the birds. Okay, so this is the first thing you have to consider if you want to start this particular business. And then this does not entail anything that is difficult. You can do it. Here we are just starting up, so you can use any local material to construct any simple coop for the birds. Remember, we are starting with just 5 hens and then 1 rooster, but that is not our consideration. If you are going to do the structure, make sure you do it for at least 100 birds, and then you must be planning to expand it because the birds are going to multiply. So if you just make a structure for only 5 hens and then the 1 rooster, you are going to be stuck along the way. So you must make preparations for expanding the structure. So I will recommend, if you want to start, make the structure for where you'll be keeping the 5 birds, but consider extending it to at least 100 birds in the first 6 months. So the structure is the first thing. The second thing we have to consider here, since it's a business, we are going to do some inputs, and then the next input is the feed of these particular chickens. Okay, you must consider the feed. This is the most important thing whenever it comes to rearing poultry birds, especially rearing our local birds. Why? Because in our setup, we don't take good care of these local birds. We don't learn how to rear them. We don't learn how to take good care of them. We don't learn how to feed them. Okay, what we do is we just allow them on their own. They roam about looking for their own food. That is how we are taught. That is how we are brought up. So here, this is a business, so we must consider the feeding. We have to take good care of them. We are going to feed them. Okay, so whether you are going to feed them in the morning and in the afternoon is something you have to consider. So I will recommend you consider feeding them in the morning and then in the afternoon. Okay, now as we are starting, we are going to dive into how you feed these particular birds, but it will be in another video, starting with 5 hens and 1 cock. This video is just to give you the framework of how you can start this particular business. Okay, so the second thing is the feeding, so you have to sort it out. Now whenever it comes to the feeding, the next thing you have to consider is, are you going to prepare your own feed or you are going to go in for commercial feed? So from the start, I will recommend you go in for the commercial feed first, and then you begin to learn how you can do your own mixing. Okay, so go in for the commercial feed, then you take the guideline from there, and then you begin to do your own feed. So as you are progressing, you'll be learning how to mix your own feed until you become confident of mixing your own feed. That is when you ditch the commercial feed completely. So at the start, I would recommend you consider using the commercial feed as a guide, and then you build on it. So after we've considered the structure and then the feed, the next thing we have to consider is the well-being of these particular pets, how we are going to deal with their health. Okay, so the health of these birds. Now, whenever I say health, that means how we are going to be taking good care of these particular birds before they will not get sick. We know disease outbreak in poultry rearing is very common. Whenever it comes to local birds, there is a particular season birds die a lot. Okay, there is an outbreak whereby birds will die a lot, your birds will die a lot. So we have to consider how we can take good care of these particular birds before they will not get sick. So in this particular instance, what you need to do is you don't need to go in for any synthetic medicine or any vaccine or any vitamins to be supplementing them. What I would recommend you to do is to focus on our local herbs and then our local supplements. Now, what do that mean by using our local herbs and then our local supplements? This means that we have common herbs that our local chickens always feed on. So let's take azolla. Those that are in Uganda are familiar with azolla. We have dandelion here. Dandelion is common. And then we have other greens like spinach, bitter leaves, and others. So we have a lot of greens that these chickens feed on, okay, to get their health. It boosts their immune system, okay, it makes them to be disease resistant. So you consider feeding them with those herbs, okay. Whenever it comes to deworming, you consider using the pawpaw leaves and that of the cayenne pepper and then the local pepper too. So these are some of the things you consider. Now the next thing that you consider to boost their immune system and then their health in general is you can use the ginger, you can use garlic, you can use charcoal, you can use ash to boost their health, okay. So these things are not anything difficult to get. They are common, very common, and they are not expensive. So this is the next thing we have to consider in this particular business. So first, the structure, the feeding, then the third most important thing is the health of the chickens. So in this instance, the structure must be ready before we get the birds. The feeds must be ready before we get the birds. And then what we are going to be using to boost their immune system, to supplement them, must be ready before we get these particular birds, okay. So now we've gotten all these things sorted out. The next step is to go in for the birds, okay. So now we are going in for 5 hens and then 1 cock. So we are not starting this business with the young chicks. We are starting with the matured hens, okay. You go in for 5 hens and then 1 cock. So this is our starting point, okay. Now when you are going to get these particular hens, make sure you get them from one person. Just go around, move around, and then get it. Don't go to the market to buy your hens, okay. You are going to be frustrated because most of the birds that are at the marketplace are already infected with diseases. So just go around and then look for these hens and then 1 cock. It's easy to do. 5 hens and 1 cock is easy to find around. So just move around in your village, in your community, move around and get it. Now the recommendation I will give you here is make sure all the hens you are going to get are of the same age. So that is why I said you get it from one particular person. You can go to one particular farmer, somebody that you know that the person is rearing these local birds. Just go to that person and then get 5 matured hens and then 1 cock, okay. Now this cock is the one that is going to be mating these particular hens for them to be producing fertile eggs. So this is the basics of you starting a successful local poultry business with just 5 hens and 1 cock. The things you need to put in place are the structure, the feed, and the health of these particular birds. Remember, you are the caretaker of these particular birds. You are going to take full control, full charge of these particular birds because it's a business. You have to input before you get an output. So these things needs to be sought out before you go in for the birds. So I hope you enjoy this video. If you like it, hit the thumbs up. In the next video, I'll be taking you through how you can feed these particular chickens, what is their intake, how are we going to calculate their intake, what are the requirements of you feeding these particular chickens. And then the next video will follow about how you prepare local herbs, you prepare supplements, you prepare immune boosters for these particular hens, okay. So make sure you subscribe, turn on the post notification bell to get notified early anytime I release a new content like this. Don't forget to leave a comment, leave a suggestion in the comment box below. Any problem you have, leave it in the comment box below, and then we share our ideas together. I love you. I will see you in another wonderful one like this.